Welcome to Women of the Metaverse. I am Cheryl Laidlaw.
I am Angela Harkness. We have been and are still on a journey to discover the Metaverse, Web 3.0, NFTs, and anything that we are required to know to join this world.
From this podcast, we will help you to unlock how the Metaverse is going to impact your brand, your business, and even your personal life.
Join us as we take the mystery out of this new digital universe. Welcome to episode 12 of Women of the Metaverse. In this episode, we are going to be talking about land in the Metaverse and whether owning a patch is essential for your brand. We will be exploring if you should be creating a strategy and planning with this in mind for the future. We are also going to discuss where you can buy land now and or create your own environment in the Metaverse. So Cheryl, explain to the listeners exactly what land in the Metaverse is.
No problem. Okay, so when a Metaverse is created, so for example, Decentraland, Roblox, and the Sandbox, they are divided into parcels of land. So if you look at a map of a Metaverse, you will see each parcel as a block, and you purchase your land in the same way that you would purchase an NFT. So if you want to know more about the Metaverse and NFTs, do have a listen back in the few episodes before this so that you can understand it a little bit further. So how do you buy a piece of land, Angela?
Okay, so firstly, we will always say do your research and work out in which metaverse you want to buy your land. You can go directly to that metaverse website and work out the plot of land you want to buy. For example, if you went to Decentraland, you can look at a full map, and there are actually 90,601 parcels of land. Each parcel measures 16 meters by 16 meters, which I can't get my head around because I don't know how you do that on the internet, but okay. And it makes up what is called Genesis City. So similar to any city map, it's designed in districts with roads and plazas. There are certain areas of the map that are not for sale, for example, the roads. There are areas that are set aside for players to congregate, and there are parcels of land that can be bought and sold to private owners. You can then either buy direct from that metaverse, or you can go to an NFT selling site such as OpenSea and Rarible, and you may even be directed to OpenSea. So at the moment, Decentraland and Sandbox, the cheapest parcel of land is about £2,000. The plots are considered to be commercially more valuable are those that are close to big brands or those that would have a high digital footfall. So, for example, in the case of Decentraland, it would be those close to a road or a plaza. But Cheryl and I had a bit of a discussion about this, didn't we? About these, where you buy your plot of land.
Absolutely. I mean,
tell them that your Notting Hill theory, because that was interesting.
So obviously back in the day, Notting Hill, if you're not familiar with Notting Hill, it's a part of London that is extremely expensive to buy in now. But if you'd have bought there 50 years ago, well, no one would have bought there 50 years ago, would they, Angela? It was classed as a down and out part of London that nobody really wanted to live in. And now 50 years later, it's on the map. It's the place to be. So that's kind of my theory when it comes to land. It's cheap at the moment. Well, I say it's cheap. It's £2,000. It's not cheap, but it's a place where you can sit on it, I reckon.
Yeah, I think, and also, any city this happens to. So the same as the East End of London, it used to be, not the most desirable place. And then kind of the city moved in with their banks, and then they started building more residential places, and that became more desirable to live in. Or if you're in New York, Brooklyn has now, because the prices are so expensive in New York, that other people are having to move out. And Sharon and I think that, well, this is probably going to happen the same with the metaverse land. Yeah, where it at the moment you can see, well, not at the moment, you can see where big brands have brought their blocks of land. So where Facebook have got theirs, or Gucci have got theirs, and people are saying, well, buy around these because big brands are there, so it increases the cost. But actually, you could buy a plot of land and then all of a sudden Facebook moves into that as
Mm,
well. So
totally. And at the moment, there's
it
only,
you,
I say only 90,000 parcels of land. What's to say they couldn't expand that over time? And that would be the
yeah, or they
main,
create another
yeah,
metaverse. Yeah. Or Decentraland and Sandbox actually stop being the go-to metaverses, and other metaverses are created. So whilst, yes, okay, you could spend however much and buy a really expensive plot of land right by a corner of a road in Decentraland, don't worry about it if you can't afford that. If you can afford a £2,000 plot, then find somewhere that you quite like. So
absolutely. And we've got the other side by the
yeah,
Board 8 Yacht Club as well. That's just been
yeah,
released.
yeah. There's
There's
lots.
lots to
There's one
choose
I
from.
called Meta Town, which looks even more sort of retaily. So over the next 10 years, the number of metaverses that will be created will be just flooding the market. So
Yeah,
don't get a bit like, oh, I've missed out. I've missed out. That is not the
absolutely.
case
We're
at all.
still literally at its infancy. So let's give some examples of how brands have entered the metaverse and what they've done with their plots of land, which may give you some ideas for your business. So first of all, we've got Gucci Town. Gucci Town opened in Roblox in June 2022. They have included an area of Gucci-inspired competitions, an area which you can go and be creative, and also you can visit the Power Up Place Cafe, where you can
That
interact.
rolls off the tongue, doesn't
I
it?
know, the Power Up Place Cafe, where you can interact with other people. So we've talked about fashion a lot in this podcast, and a large number of fashion brands are investing in a metaverse presence, including Adidas, Timberland, Louis Vuitton, and Selfridges, just to name a few. In episode 5, we talked about the Wisho Vodka project, which is again rolls off the tongue. Not. They opened their
Yeah,
first distillery in Decentraland and were holding virtual parties before even a real drop of vodka was sold.
love
This
it.
is a perfect example of brands taking advantage of the opportunities that the metaverse holds. There's the Mumbai based events company, Atom. They purchased the land and created an office as a way of holding events in the metaverse to reach out to international clients. And then, of course, we've got Snoop Dogg. We spoke about Snoop Dogg in our last episode. What is the Board 8 and what is the Board 8 Yacht Club? He has embraced the potential of the metaverse and has created Snoopverse, an environment in its own right in the sandbox. It's pretty epic, isn't it?
He is just taken over. I think he's really recognized this is how big this is, and what how creative he can be with
Yeah, and
it.
he's so
This is my
creative. His
I
imagination
think
is
it's
wild.
brilliant.
Maybe it's all the weed he
Yeah,
smokes.
maybe. But I think also because there's no limits, is there? There's no You're not limited by anything or anyone
Correct.
when you do this. This is my favorite though. Architects have recognized the opportunities because they have the design training, but also because they have the technology. So a Danish architect studio, BIG, designed a virtual office for media company Vice Media called Viceverse. One of the reasons they commissioned BIG to design Viceverse was to create an office where employees could experiment with NFTs, Web 3.0, and other areas of the digital universe. And I just love this. This is a whole new world for architects because they're just not limited by anything. They don't have to, they're not limited by building regulations, or they've got to put two toilets on a certain floor, or electricity, or water, or whether if they build so many stories the wind's going to affect building movement. I love
Yeah,
it. I
it's
love it.
fantastic. There's no limitations.
Yeah. No, and I also love that smaller brands are thinking, we're going to go in and we're going to allow our employees to experiment and,
Yeah, and
have a go.
and you don't have to be a designer, architect to go in. I mean, I got an email yesterday from the Sandbox, and I sent it straight on to Angela, and it said, "Come, thank you for joining the Sandbox. Come in and explore, uh, learn how to build your land here," or
Yes.
something like that. And it's a step by step guide on how to build. So there's options there, and you don't have to have the skills necessarily. So is there
No.
anything that business owners can do to start to plan and gradually transition into this new world, Angela?
Yeah, there's a few things. So you need to look at AR usage, so augmented reality technology, for example. Shopify, which is a brilliant business, I think, because it's really enabled businesses to be able to sell their small
So
businesses.
anyone that doesn't
And
know,
Shopify,
Shopify is a e-commerce website platform.
yeah. And you can add it onto your website as if it's part of your website, but Shopify sort of fronts everything. So you can buy and sell through it. It's brilliant. Um, and it now enables the use of 3D models. And if you don't know how to do that, or you don't have time, because who does, then Shopify have specialists that you can commission to create them for you. But I went and watched a YouTube video on it the other day, and it doesn't seem that difficult. So if you've got the time, there's always somebody putting a YouTube video out there that
Yeah,
can
we love
show
a
you
bit of
what to
YouTube,
do.
don't we, Angela?
Yeah, we love it. So, any products that you want to sell, you can use 3D modeling as a way to advertise them. And where this takes it to a new dimension is the potential that customers have to see your product in a real life environment. So, for example, if you were selling a vase, you could see that vase on a table or in a home somewhere. Or if you were selling a bench for the garden, you could see it in a garden environment. So those using our technology, they have actually reported that conversion rates have doubled on
That's
Shopify.
fantastic.
So that's,
I,
I
do you
know,
know
it's
what?
definitely something to think
I
about.
think Tiffany did this a few years ago, where you could actually upload different rings to your hand. Genius idea.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
genius, isn't
and they
it?
were definitely the first
And
people
even
that
if,
I saw doing it.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think we probably see it a lot more and maybe don't even recognize that we're seeing it
Mm,
now because it's just gradually started to eke into how we're seeing things, how we're seeing products presented to us. Gamification, we discussed this in episode 9. I love this. And as you will see, a lot of brands are using some kind of game to draw in customers. So you could start to introduce simple gamification to start to draw in customers and then plan to transition that into the metaverse. NFTs, we talk about NFTs all the time. And one thing you can start to do is at least research NFTs and how you can use them for your brand, how you can create a collection around your community, and how you can build future NFT drops into your business strategy. So, and then the other thing that we sort of um,
I've noticed.
have noticed a lot, yeah, and especially doing our research, is the use of the word verse. So before, when Apple brought out everything, it was iPhone, iWatch, everybody is now using
At the
verse.
end.
So
Yeah,
at the
we
end,
got Snoopverse.
so it Snoopverse, Wendyverse. So Cheryl sent me a video the other day that Wendy's burger chain, they've created Wendyverse. Fender Stratocaster, the famous guitar makers, they've created Stratoverse. They're all over the place. Snoopverse. So one of the things that you can really start to do is to look at your trademarkings, to look at, do you want to, have you got a special name that you love for your business? Maybe look at whether you want to trademark that for use in the metaverse. So
Absolutely.
that's something to
You
think
can
about.
get
It's
really
just really
creative,
thinking
can't
about
you?
you. Absolutely. But you need to maybe start to think, what are you going to do next month? What are you going to do in a year? What are you going to do in 5 years? Because things will look very, very different in
Yes.
5 years. That's
And things are
that's for
still
sure.
available at
So
the moment. Land's still available, names are still available,
yes,
NFTs are still available.
yes,
So definitely get your team together, do a little brainstorm session, and see how creative you can be. Not necessarily using the word merse, but just looking at your names and seeing how you can best support yourself moving into this world.
Yeah. And I think the thing to understand, because we've had this time and time again, and you had a comment from somebody the other day that when they said, oh, the metaverse is, it's not going to be around. But it's not about one thing. It's about the evolution of technology. So technology is now moving on. That you can't change that. You can't turn that back. We no longer have static websites. We have websites you can go in and you can add things to. Shopify have evolved the way in which businesses can sell their products. This is about technology moving
Yeah,
on, and
it's
you need to keep
inevitable.
an eye
It's
on
going
it.
to
And
happen, basically. Don't
yeah,
feel that you
and
can just think,
metaverse
oh,
is
do you know what? I just won't partake in that part of the tech because,
exactly.
it's not a strategy that I'd advise.
No, and also what the metaverse may look like today, Decentraland may look completely different in 10 years' time. But you have to evolve with the technology. If you stand still now, wow, I don't want to see what it would be like to try and catch up in 10 years' time if you think, oh no, I won't bother. It would be, yeah,
Yeah.
really. I
We're,
don't
we're,
know. I don't
we're
even want to
just
think about
stressing
it.
the importance of just thinking about it now, really, rather than waiting a couple of years
Yes.
down the line when,
Yes.
all the
Yes.
domains
That's a
and
good way to put it,
all the
Cheryl.
domains are
Yeah.
taken, the names are taken, so it's a really good time to now start brainstorming. But if you're thinking all of this metaverse stuff is a little bit, I don't know, expensive, or maybe it's
Yeah.
a little bit overwhelming, we have got Horizon Worlds, where you can build your own world and invite visitors and customers to come and visit. And it's been created by Facebook, which is obviously now called Meta, the Meta Horizon Worlds. The upside to this is that it's absolutely free, and Meta provides really good, immersive tutorials on how to build your world. The downside for a lot of people like us is that it can make you a little bit nauseous.
Sharon and I can't do this yet. We have tried a few times, and it's just the way you move around worlds. It's like, oh
It's
my
so
God, we.
fast that after 25 minutes, Angela and I are, yeah, we're like, right, we need to get out of here before we're actually puking for the rest of the evening. And it can take a while sometimes to get your feet back on the ground. But in order to enter the
Yes,
Horizon,
it can.
Horizon worlds, you need a VR headset. We have got an affiliate link on our website if you want to purchase yours and go in and give it a go. So,
Yeah, I mean, definitely give it a go because, you know, the tutorials are really good. And Cheryl and I do go in there. So it's not like
no,
we
no, but we're
stay out
probably
of there.
putting you off a bit, to be honest with you. But it's
Yeah, yeah.
pretty amazing when you do step inside and what they've created and I can
Oh,
see what the future's going to hold. It's going to be very much like I can remember clients coming to me 10 to 15 years ago and saying, Cheryl, can you create me a Facebook page? Yes, absolutely. And that was back in the day where you could have used HTML in your Facebook business page to create kind of like a website within the
yeah.
page, and then it moved on, and then they developed it and developed it and developed it. So my predictions are that people will come to businesses like myself or other uh, metaverse marketing companies and say, I need a world in Facebook Meta, can you build me it?
Yeah. Yeah. And also again it's about technology. So they will they will advance the technology so people can be in there and not, people like us that get car sick and can't read in cars are the same people that get sick in Horizon Worlds. But also the glasses will change, so you won't need these massive VR headsets, which I don't think help. And Cheryl and I actually will, maybe start to get used to it. But Cheryl sent me something yesterday where this guy was advertising the fact that he creates you could pay them to create VR world, Horizon worlds. So there are even businesses starting to
I've
do that.
definitely seen it
So
already. Yeah.
yeah, it's amazing. And if you wanted to create rooms where you could meet your your customers, or you can start to show off what you do as a brand. This is such a brilliant solution.
It's creative,
Instead
it's
of
fun,
having,
especially
yeah,
if
and
you're in
also,
a big company where you can all sit around and brainstorm, get the marketing team on board, get the sales team.
yes, brilliant.
Wendy's burgers are they're they've got a basketball court where you can bounce
Yes.
burgers around the court and play basketball. I mean, they must have
Yeah.
sat around a
Yeah.
board and gone, right, what can we do to make this world
What can we
interesting?
do? And also, I talked about the guitar company Fender Stratocaster. They've created Stratoverse in partnership with Meta. So it's in Meta Worlds, and it's a guitar shaped island. Now, you can't just go trot off and try and buy a guitar shaped island in real life. They've created one. You can go on there and they've got games so that you can play these games which allow you to be creative with music. You can meet other people. And again, it's, we talk about this all the time. It's about putting your brand on steroids in this situation. And you could go into Horizon Worlds and for free
Yeah,
create the craziest building for yourself, or something that's incredibly calm that reflects your business. However you want to do it, the tools are there. And like Cheryl said, the tutorials are incredible. They're amazing. You can sit there and move blocks around and build things. And I mean, it's
yeah,
amazing. Just, we
definitely.
can't do it
Well, we
because
will do it.
we're
I'm going
so,
to do it in
we will do it.
over the next 2 to 3 months. I will
Yeah.
definitely go in and definitely have a play around to see what it's like.
Please, please, please don't be put off by us. Go and give it a go because it is
It
amazing. It
really
is
is. It's
incredible
epic.
in there.
Yeah.
Yes. So, is it a great time to buy land in the metaverse after all we've said? What do you think?
So we can't really advise, but we can tell you that it's predicted by 2030 we'll be spending 50% of our working and socializing time in the metaverse.
That's crazy, isn't it?
hmm The financial value of the metaverse will start to challenge the financial value of real property.
Get
Mm,
that, like, I think you need to really take that stat in because that's incredible.
absolutely. I
So,
mean, some people can go and buy a plot of land tomorrow, some can't. I'm one of those that I haven't been splurging out. I've got my eye on other bits and pieces, but that's not to say that if I did could drop 2 grand tomorrow, I absolutely would. So it isn't cheap. And as we said, in Decentraland, the cheapest is around 2,000, but plots can sell for 14,000, and the highest record land sale was 1.3 million. Nice. Well, let's get into a little bit more. What would you use it for? So maybe you would hang on to it and sell it at the highest bidder in 5 to 10 years' time, or maybe it's right for your business and you could build something on that piece of land. Andrew and I are watching people doing this right now. So if you wanted a piece of land, you could commission someone um, in free, that are educated in 3D cinema or 3D Max, whatever it's called, 4D cinema, and you could commission them to build on your land. We did a little Google. So we typed in 3D designer, metaverse designer, and metaverse architects, and lots of results came up. So really, it's already out there and ready.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's
So
I think it's a lot easier than you think. I think when you think about it, you're like, oh my God, this is just, I mean, that's come to us a lot about, having to learn new technology. One, like Cheryl has already pointed out, in a lot of these places like Decentraland and Sandbox, the tutorials are there for you to do it. Horizon World, the tutorials, but also there are so many people that you could commission. In the same way you would come to Cheryl to build your website, you would go, or you could even come to Cheryl and get your land built. But there are people out there doing it, so it's not
yeah,
a case of fearing the technology.
absolutely. And another a forward thinking way of looking at this is the SEO.
Yes.
SEO, these terms are fresh. I Googled these terms about 3, 4 months ago, and there was hardly anything on metaverse marketing and
Oh yeah.
metaverse
Design.
design. And trust me, I've looked because I've added it to my website. So if you want to get in there early in terms of SEO, and you're probably thinking, well, this is web point 2, we're moving to web point 3. You still need to be forward thinking about this kind of stuff. But anyway,
Yeah.
if you were to buy a piece of land in the metaverse, where would you buy it and what would you do with it, Angela?
So I've been thinking about this a lot, because if you look at designers and the kind of design they're doing, it always reminds me of some kind of house in LA. They're always kind of, like quite square, and we talked about this. I can't even remember what episode it was in, where we were saying you literally can do anything you want. And I was showing Cheryl the other day when we were just having a chat. I'm really into this website called Miss Alice, and she sells sort of tablescapes. It's like a lifestyle brand, and her tablescapes are very feminine. She sells the dinner sets and she sells the napkins, and I really love it. They're just really beautiful. And there's all these pictures of her in an English country garden, and a house that looks like it's in the Cotswolds. If it was me, that's the sort of thing I would design, because that's the type of place I would want to visit. And I talked about this before with people like Erin Lauder and her lifestyle brand. I think the thing to say is, don't be limited by what you see other people doing. You don't need to be limited in the metaverse. If you wanted to, I don't know,
You
just
could,
create one big pool that everybody can
yeah,
sit in, or you
you could
wanted to
build
create,
the tallest slide in the world if
yes,
you want. I
yeah,
mean, I don't know for whatever reason why you would do this, but you've got to stand out some way.
yeah. But if you had, for example, a handbag brand, then your building could be a handbag. It doesn't need to look
Yeah,
like there's no sort of
rules.
design regulations you have to have. You could do it in any way that you wanted to. You could have, stables stacked on top of one another with horses that fly. I know we're getting a bit ridiculous, but what we're just trying to say to you is, you'll go in there now and you'll see what other people have done and think, oh, okay, it all looks the same and it's all around games and everything. But you do not have to do it. Be the first person to do an English country garden in the metaverse, or do a stately home, or do like a pier by the beach. You can do what you want, and that's what I would do if I brought a piece of land. That's how I would design it, as opposed to these sort of concrete type things. But if you buy land, do what you want with it, I think, is what I'm trying to say. We want you to focus on you and what would you do? How would you want your brand? What would you want to build in the metaverse that you would be happy for your clients to come to and feel, I love this brand. What would
Yeah.
you do?
Okay, well, before we finish, we just want to say that we can't advise on buying land. This is definitely something you will need to investigate and research yourself. But we have a feeling that this could be one of those situations where we look back and say, damn, why didn't we buy the land at the beginning? So thank you for listening and join us next week for more Metaverse insights. Bye for now.
Bye. Thank you for listening to this episode of Women of the Metaverse.
You can find all information, links, and people we talked about in the show notes on our website.
If you have enjoyed this podcast, please comment and subscribe.
Join us again in the next episode as we continue this exciting Metaverse journey.